The year was 2019. Sometime in June, I was coming out my fifth viewing of Avengers Endgame. At the time, still today, this was a movie I really loved and still love. It was also a time where I was consuming everything Marvel. I thought they couldn't do no wrong. I thought my childhood was finally leaving the 2D pages of comic books and coming into live action with real actors playing the parts of some of my favorite heroes. I felt like I couldn't ask for more. I thought we reached the peak of cinema, no matter what Scorsese says. I thought we reached it. I thought Endgame was probably the pinnacle of movies. For a lot of reasons, I still feel that Endgame was a big event, was a big achievement. Do I think it's flawed now? Absolutely. Do I still love it? Absolutely. And there lies this weird dichotomy that has been baffling me for years because kind of after Endgame, that's where I really got into watching reviews of movies and whatnot and getting an idea and getting spoilers because I was waiting for the next thing Marvel. What could we get? What else? I was all into that movement. And that's kind of where I landed to some of my favorite YouTubers, favorite creators. So I went down the deep dive, the rabbit hole we call YouTube. And through these creators, after reviewing some of my favorite movies from every frame of pause, I realized that yeah, Endgame is a bad movie, but I still freaking love it. Now, to explain this kind of weird situation, I just couldn't put it into words yet. It kind of started my adventure of watching something and waiting for a review from one of my favorite YouTubers to see if we were in the same mindset, to see if I saw what they saw, to understand what made a movie good and what made a movie bad. Was it characters? Was it plot? Was it the grand event of it? Was it the beauty of it? Was it the picture? Was it the location, the scenery? What made a movie good in my books and what made a movie bad? And like I said, upon listening to all these reviewers, I did narrow it down to, okay, so most movies do go down this list. I think if you got characters, you got a plot that supports these characters, and you have people working with passion, you can create something good. Why do I say this? Well, today I wanted to take a deep dive into why I believe that some movies can be objectively bad, but feel so good. Now, the thing with Endgame is the fact that we had established characters. We had established characters going from 10 years. And we had established setups. Good setups in some movies, some not so good. But the setups were there. And what I think Endgame did better than anything I've ever seen, the highs of Endgame, nothing has reached that. When you're following characters for about 10 years, kind of like a TV show, when you're following characters around 10 years, characters are very well fleshed out. That payoff at the end needs to be something that invokes every feeling that you've had about that character from the first introduction to the last, from their interaction with other characters to that moment in time right now. And I can define that entire moment why I think Endgame is a good movie. And I know it's just an example. The moment that Endgame became a great movie for me was the minute that Cap picks up the hammer. My movie theater exploded all 5 times. And I get it. It's a lot of baiting. It's a lot of fan baiting. I get it. I'm not gonna explain myself. I absolutely love that scene. I thought that scene culminated so many theories, so many things to an era that respected movies and their characters to a point. And I felt that some of the payoff of Endgames, no matter how low some of the lows were, and yes, Hulk, Thor, I get it. But some of the high of Endgame are some of the highest highs in movies. Now back to the future. I see this weird dichotomy going on a lot less because, let's be real, movies have gone down for multiple reasons. Number one reason, they became more about messaging than about telling a story. It became about what kind of message can you teach me through a movie versus what kind of story can you tell me and I pull some kind of meaning out of it. It became about the lack of characters. Characters were doing things that other characters previously from other franchises and other movies were doing without the work. Understand, to relate to characters is to relate to what you endure in life. We all go to work. We all have a boss we don't like. We all have things in our life that are not peachy. And if characters can reflect this, that makes them relatable. And so for me, characters is one of the biggest part of movies. I think with a solid character work, you can make any bad movie work. For example, we have right now that came out recently, we have the TV show of Fallout. I actually really like the TV show. And like I always do, after watching the TV show, I went down a YouTube rabbit hole to find out, hey, what other people thought? What was this? Why this was good? And it was a weird split. Fallout probably was one of the weirdest splits for me in a TV show. Because you had people that were very hardcore in the game that really hated it. You had people that had no idea about the game that didn't like it. You had people that had no idea about the game, but that love it. And you had people that played the game kind of where I am at and still liked it. And it baffled me. I just never understood why this was such a big deal. And I remember listening to two YouTubers going at it, and it brought me back to thinking about Endgame. Now, in contrast, before I dive in too much to Fallout, we also have another show that came out called Shogun. Nobody's talking about Shogun, but it's a great show. I didn't like it. I know, I hear you. Great show, great characters. I didn't like it. And I started questioning myself, saying, why? Fallout has its flaws. I get it. There's a lot of problems with Fallout. But why did I love Fallout so much? And why could I not attach myself to Shogun? I love anything samurai. I love anything with a sword. I should have absolutely been rooting for that show. I watched the entire show in one sitting. And I remember finishing the season and being like, I'd rewatch Fallout before I watch Shogun. Now, that could be easily be said that, well, Fallout is the easier show to watch. It's very campy. And Shogun is the more serious show. It's the more kind of HBO format, Showtime format show. I get it. But that wasn't it. Because I'll rewatch Game of Thrones in a heartbeat. At least the first 4 seasons. Just, I don't feel the same for Shogun. I'll watch season 2 because I am somewhat invested in the characters. But again, I'm looking way more forward to Fallout Season 2, although I'm hoping like the plot is a little better structured than what we got in the first season. And I think I found a solution. I think Fallout works because they made sure to have good characters, likable characters. I know some people are not too fond of Lucy, say she's a non-character. The Vault Dwellers are not supposed to be the peak of mankind. They're not idiots, but they're not supposed to be the peak of mankind. But I think the game was pushing for that message, pushing for like, hey, you're that bubbly coming out person, not really knowing what the world is, but very idealistic and very ready to change it because you were told you were the person changing it. And I think Lucy portrayed that. I think Lucy portrayed that very well. I think Lucy came out of the vault. She had a pretty direct mission, pretty direct agency. She knew what she wanted to do. She wanted to get her dad back. But even through that, the character of Lucy perseveres. You feel what she feels because the actress is also very passionate about what she's doing. Because that's the thing about art. Art is an expression of emotions, I'll say. It's how easy can you get emotion out of something. Now, you could say it's good art even if it's getting bad emotion out of you. You could say that. But I think really true art transcends any types of negative emotion and kind of brings people together. A good movie, no matter where it stands, no matter what it tries to say, if it's a good story, 90% of people love it. And I think that's kind of where I felt that a lot of the passion of Fallout came through. From the characters, from the actors playing these characters. I think they were very invested in the world. I think they were very invested in their characters, and they made the best of it. Lucy struggled. She was never given a hand, maybe a head, but never given a hand. She had to fight for everything she got, and she can emote as an actress. And so maybe it was just refreshing to see a character like that on TV. Maybe for the first time in a long time, I was ready to root for somebody on TV. Something I haven't done in years, since Endgame. Yes, I still say Endgame is a good movie. Lucy as a character works. She's probably one of my playthroughs on Fallout. Kind of like too nice, too optimistic, but still perceptive enough to understand and learn from her mistakes and learn lessons. Does she get out of situations a little luckily? Sure. It's not overbearing. It's not too much. She doesn't do that every scene she's in. It's okay if the character gets lucky. Usually the protagonist of a story gets that bit of luck. Thing is, you can't ride luck every scene. And also another great character, and not just also another great character, probably the best character of the show. Walton Goggin as the Ghoul, as Cooper. What did a fantastic job as the Ghoul. And there lies the reason why Fallout is a hit. It's not the plot. It's not the aesthetic of the show. Yes, it's visually pleasing. Yes, you feel, and again, that's still part of the passion. A movie being visually pleasing shows the hard work being put in by the team and the passion being put in by the team. The atmosphere of the show. The characters exuberated the passion of the actors because you felt there was love. And if you look at, movie interviews, Ella Purnell, I think her name is, the one that played Lucy, she went out of her way to play the games just to understand the character. I mean, just Fallout is not a small game. I don't know if she finished it. She probably played like 15 minutes. But still, she didn't have to. She did the research. And that's all we have to ask. And so, for me, a character like Lucy and a character like the Ghoul were the two reasons why Fallout won. And of course, the aesthetic and of course, some of the practical work. But it was really these two that made it work, no matter the contrivances. Because you were able to attach yourself to one of these characters and follow their journey, however absurd it was. And that's really the core of most movies. If they can get the characters right, the plot could be contrived, but people are still going to like it. Because people are easy. Now compare Lucy and the Ghoul to any character in Shogun. First off, I feel like Shogun had very, very well fleshed out characters. But I couldn't attach myself to any of the characters. I thought most of the characters were pretty smart in what their character choices for a certain situation. I thought they acted like they're supposed to acted, but there was not that feeling. Maybe it was the type of show. Maybe I knew like everybody could die, so let me not attach myself to anybody because anybody could die at any moment, and maybe that was it. But I tried, and the thing is, it's like it's not like I didn't watch. I had to force. No, I couldn't stop watching it, but I couldn't latch on to anybody. Not my show. The crazy thing is, what I demand of Shogun, I would never demand of Fallout. Because I understood already that Fallout is the lesser show. But for what Fallout gave me, I thought it did a pretty decent job with the characters. In contrast to Shogun, which, again, like I said, very well written, very well character fleshed out, but not once was I rooting for anybody. And I think that's probably my view of what works for me and what works for me, because I know plenty of people that like certain movies that they know is absolute trash, but they like it anyways. I love the Spawn movie with Michael J. White. I absolutely love that movie. I know watching it now I'll be like, what the hell? But hey, I absolutely love that movie. Demolition Man, I absolutely love that movie. Any Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone of the 90s, I could get behind. But I know now they're not the best of the movies. So ultimately, any movie, TV show could be subjectively love, but being objectively bad. And it all depends on your attachment to the characters. Because at the end of the day, I really believe it's how you attach yourself to a character and able to appreciate their journey. Without that attachment, most movies fall flat.